So today we've got a really low budget indie thriller film all the way from Canada. But is it any good? I'm Sorry If I Took a Toll on You is a new Canadian thriller that got released towards the back end of 2021. It's starting to get a more global release as we're moving through 2022. It's a low budget thriller, and when I say low budget, it is really low budget. Don't expect like crazy visuals or unbelievable special effects or anything like that. This movie was made for like $25,000 and it looks great for $25,000, but you can definitely tell that this is very low budget. So set your expectations for this film quite low when it comes to what you're actually seeing on the screen. But I digress. So the plot of this film is that we have Kath, a young woman who is recently orphaned. She's a bit estranged from her parents, and she comes to their house because obviously it's been left to her. She comes to their house to kind of finalize a few things before she decides to sell it to, some potential buyers. While she's there, she comes across Ryan. Ryan works as sort of the caretaker for her parents' house, where he comes and mows lawns and he does groceries and dishes and makes sure there's no intruders and things like this. Him and Kath begin to form a relationship. And Kath is a very, let's say, careful person. She's very careful. She doesn't like when things are out of place. She doesn't like when things are making her uncomfortable or putting her in an uncomfortable situation. Ryan is the complete opposite. He just kind of does what he wants, doesn't really think about it. He's kind of like a free spirit, loose cannon type fella. And over the next few days, they begin to talk more and learn more about one another. And the film kind of goes from being a exploration between just two people having conversations to a thriller, like a gritty thriller. And it was pretty good. I have to preface this by saying it's an indie film and it's really low budget. It is a real big slog to get through the first half of this movie, because for the amount of money that they paid, the actors are not fantastic. I don't know if it's the acting or the directing or the writing that's the problem, but the conversations that our two characters are having don't feel realistic. If your film centers around two people for the majority of it, just sitting around and talking, you really need your dialogue to feel natural and organic, but it just feels so fake and so forced, and especially Kath. Like, Ryan is not terrible, he is already playing just kind of like a loose, childlike wonder type character, but Kath is this person who suffers with anxiety, and she suffers with not being in control and stuff like that. And the way that they have portrayed this in the writing makes me feel like Jake, the fellow who wrote this movie, doesn't have a fantastic understanding of what someone with anxiety and control freakisms actually suffers through and actually how they talk. It feels like what someone on the outside of that sort of thing would think that person talks like. Which is one of those things where the script probably could have done with another set of eyes. Like, the whole film is mostly these two characters talking, and if the acting and the delivery that the actors are giving, that the characters are giving, if it's not great, you're gonna be really bored and you're not gonna want to get to the end of the movie. The final half of the film is really, really good. Like, it is genuinely edge of your seat, thriller type stuff. Like, really, really good stuff. But for 50 minutes of this film, and this movie's an hour and 20 minutes, for 50 minutes of the film, it's just dialogue. And it is fucking hard to get through this movie. It is really hard to get through. And I want to say it's worth it when you get to the end of it, but it's not really. It is a pretty good thriller in the end, but to get to that point, it is a rough ride. And I think this could have done with, another set of eyes on the actual script, maybe some other actors who can deliver slightly different. He can give a more natural performance. Everything felt forced and, fake with the actors who are in here. It's a low budget film. These sort of things happen, so you can't really hold it against it too much, but I kind of have to as well. So that's why I'm going to give I'm Sorry If I Took a Toll on You a 5 out of 10. So yeah, guys, has anyone seen this movie? If you have, comment down below, let me know what you thought about it. I don't want to be too harsh on these sorts of films because, look, it's probably a first run at it. It's pretty good for what it is. but you need to be unbiased at certain points, and I think the weakest part of this film was probably the dialogue between the two characters and the delivery of it. In terms of a plot and a setup and, you know, cinematography and all that stuff, very, very nice. Really, really good. Nothing to write home about, but just, you know, decent. Really, really decent stuff in here. So if they could have fixed the first 50 minutes of this film and maybe made it a slightly more interesting or slightly better writing, it probably would have gotten a higher rating. But unfortunately they didn't do that, so this is what we're left with. That was the review, guys. Hope you really enjoyed it. As always, click through to another video. We'll keep having some fun. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.